There are approximately $19 billion worth of Steam games that gamers have bought and never played, and that's just on Steam, which doesn't consider consoles, mobile games, or retro titles. Why can't some of us finish playing video games? Let's dive into the psychology and how you can fix it. It's a recurring event. You see a trailer for a video game and get extremely hype about it. You follow it and get as much information on it as you can. You watch YouTube videos that you know are full of blind speculation, but you don't care. You're just happy because someone's talking about the game. Because you're not a sucker, you don't pre-order the game, but the pre-release reviews from reviewers with similar tastes as yours come out and they're all fantastic. Release day comes. You get the game and you're in love. You play it to the exclusion of all your other games. You join forums to participate in discussions, you think about strategies while you're at work, and when you're playing the game, nothing, not even the necessity of food and water, can pull you away from it. Fast forward 6 months and you haven't played it in the last 3. Why does this happen? The reasons are different for everyone. Let's take a look at 7 of them and how they can show up when you're playing video games. Number 1, difficulty and frustration. Some players may find the game too challenging, leading to frustration and eventual abandonment. This is usually fixed by lowering the difficulty if possible, but with games like Elden Ring, it's not a possibility. A skill plateau. Some players might reach a point where they feel they can't progress or improve any further, which occurs a lot in fighting games. There's always someone better than you, and many would-be great fighters don't realize that sometimes the lesson you're learning is just to keep going. Number 2, a loss of interest. Sometimes that initial excitement wanes, the novelty wears off, and the game no longer holds your attention. This famously happened with Helldivers 2, which was memed into popularity and saw its numbers drop significantly over time. Repetitiveness. The game becomes repetitive, causing boredom and a lack of motivation to continue, such as in live service games or looter shooters. You can only defend the position so many times before it gets old. Number 3, distraction by new content. A new game or sequel is released, drawing attention away from the current game. Number 4, time and prioritization. Life events, work, or other commitments take priority, leaving less time for gaming, or the game might be too long, making it difficult to commit to finish it. Number 5, lack of engagement. Sometimes it's an issue of representation. Players may not feel connected to the storyline or characters, leading to disengagement. Number 6, external influences. Friends or online communities move on to different games, influencing the player's choices. Bugs, glitches, or poor performance can hinder progress and enjoyment. And number 7, personal preferences. Personal gaming preferences can evolve, and what was once interesting may no longer be appealing. Overexposure to a particular genre can lead to burnout and a desire to switch to something different. This all sounds nice, but let's say that it isn't any of that. Let's say you find yourself both wanting to play the game and not wanting to play the game at the same time. What's the solution then? Well, first you need to know what you're going through. The term for this generally is called ambivalence. It means you have mixed feelings about making a decision or doing an action. You can be ambivalent about hanging out with friends, going grocery shopping, or deciding whether or not to play a game you once loved. But why would you become ambivalent about a game that at first you loved to play? Well, it could be a pattern of overall ambivalence that runs through your life. The way you do anything is the way you do everything, and video games are no different. Our society has an almost pathological obsession with finding the right motivation. But using motivation to complete a task is like using a firecracker to start a fire. You get an initial burst of energy, but nothing left to sustain it. You don't need motivation, unless by motivation you mean a reason to do something that overpowers the feeling of not doing. What might help is to turn your ambivalence into an opportunity to take a step towards becoming someone who finishes what they start. When you sit down to play a game that you used to love, but don't feel motivated to play anymore, there are going to be a lot of emotions that come up. And sometimes these emotions make you feel like you don't want to play. There may be guilt after having purchased yet another game and not finished it, or shame because you're in this situation yet again. The first thing you need to do is let go of all that. Replace it with some compassion. It's okay. Seriously, you're not the only person in the world with this problem, nor does it indicate some moral failing within you. Think back to when you were a child and didn't feel like doing something. Did the person responsible for raising you sit down with you calmly, place their hand on your shoulder and say, "I know it's hard, and you can do this, and I'll be right here with you"? Or did they employ some other method of discipline? Probably the latter. So what that means is that you've never learned how to encourage yourself through a difficult task. And right now, that task is getting through this game. Because just like any other task you used to love that you put off, like reading, exercise, or learning a new language, once you get past the initial going against the inertia of starting, you eventually wonder why it was so hard in the first place. So to pick up games you used to play but don't anymore and feel bad about it, try doing a compassionate gaming session. Before you start, let go of all those feelings of guilt and shame. Write them down if you have to, and then apply some compassion. Then make sure you have an environment that's conducive to gaming. Take care of your most pressing responsibilities. Make sure you have some snacks, something to drink, and if possible, put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Set a timer for 15 minutes and then simply press start. If you make it through those 15 minutes, then why not try 15 more? Because surprise, some of the reason it's so difficult to get back into doing it is because of the way you go about doing it. It's the same thing when someone says they want to resume exercising after not doing it in a while. They promise themselves they're going to wake up every day at 6 a.m. and go to the gym for an hour. And they might do it. But once the initial emotion wears off and bodily fatigue sets in, then maybe they don't stay for the whole hour. Maybe they miss a day, and then they're right back where they started. Sometimes they think, I just can't do it. Just like you might think, I just don't like games anymore. Start small. Focus on little wins. And to boost the likelihood of you continuing, start a gaming journal and write down your experiences after playing. By doing all these things, you can break the game of burnout cycle and not just play games, but finish them.